up, party people in the house? It's Dynasty War Games. I'm your host, Jesse Schneeman, and I am here on a Sunday morning, brunch style with Chad Mendoza, my main man. How you doing today, Chad? Hello?
Yeah, I'm doing good, Jesse. How about yourself, man? I just came back from a good breakfast. We had some mimosas and not much food, so
Nice.
I'm feeling pretty good, man.
Right on. That's how you do it. Cool. All right, so we're going to continue what we did last
Hello?
week. Hello? Did you lose me? So we're going to continue what we did last week with going over our rankings. Can you hear me, Chad? Yikes. All right.
We're breaking up quite a bit, so we're breaking up quite a bit, I think. Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, shit. Is it my internet? All right, let me turn my camera off, see if that helps. Oh, it's a picture of Dallas. All right. Does that help at all?
Yeah, that's a lot better.
Okay, cool. All right, sorry about that. Maybe my internet is low right now. Because, you save your internet up in a little bank, right? And you just use so much of it when you need it. Isn't that how it works?
Yeah, yep. I'm not even entirely sure.
All right, so sorry about that. Sorry for the technical difficulties starting late. We're on brand today. On brand as fuck. So we're going to continue what we did last week. We did running backs and quarterbacks with our rankings. And this week we're going to do wide receivers and then some tight ends.
Let's do it.
Ready to dive in? All right. So I have Chase and Jefferson side by side. I really have a hard time telling like discerning between the two. How about you? How do you see it?
I have Jefferson above Chase. Not by a whole lot, but if I have Jefferson, I want probably an early second on top to get Chase. Just because Chase has, had the injuries, Jefferson's done it longer. And I think Jefferson's done it with less. So, you always have the injury worries with Burrow too. And maybe that's a thing of the past, but I know that Jefferson's probably going to get it done with whoever's there at quarterback.
Okay, right on. I can see it either way. The only little bit of downside I could see with Jefferson is that Kirk Cousins is getting old, so it's an unstable quarterback situation potentially going forward. That's just in Dynasty. Obviously, for this year, it's wheels up for Jefferson. But like I said, it's an unstable quarterback situation. Things could change in the future. Can't guarantee that they'll bring in somebody good.
Yeah, I just don't think he needs anybody good. I mean, we've seen the elite wide receivers just be good with whoever's at quarterback, and I think he's one of those guys.
Yeah, I agree. He'll be good, but he might not be number one.
No, I think he will be. I don't think it matters. I think it's more about the volume, and I mean, just the separation he gets is just unmatched. I mean, he's always a yard ahead of whoever's trailing him. So, I think he's a particular case, just for me personally.
Okay. All right, so 3 I have, and we're probably way different on this because my wide receiver rankings are my wide receiver rankings. I didn't look at anybody else's, so I'm sure that mine are quite a bit different. So third I have AJB, fourth I have Garrett Wilson, and fifth I have Waddle. So just to defend that a little bit, AJ Brown is just elite. He's got an elite quarterback and an elite offense. Garrett Wilson, again, kind of the same thing. Elite quarterback, elite offense, elite player. And then Waddle, I kind of see Waddle and Tyreek, as long as they're together, as interchangeable. But Waddle's younger. So once Tyreek retires in 2 years, he said, then I mean, Waddle's still playing, right? Even though I think Tyreek is probably a little better. Like, because nobody's as fast as Tyreek, and nobody's as good at what he does.
I mean, Tyreek's. I mean, you can make an argument he's the best wide receiver in the league still. So I mean,
Right.
Yeah,
agreed. But as far as the youth goes, that's what makes me prop Waddle up a little bit above him. So I'm guessing you have Lamb in your top 5.
Yes.
Okay. Who are your 3, 4, 5?
So I have Lamb, Waddle. No, Lamb, AJ Brown, and then Waddle at 5.
Oh, okay. So we both have Waddle at 5. I didn't think you'd agree with me with that. All right. So
yeah, I think Waddle's a better player than Garrett Wilson, and I think he's been more productive than Garrett Wilson both years he's been in the NFL. So
okay, I can see that. So as far as Lamb goes, I mean, I'm not that far off from you. I have him at 6. So I don't hate Lamb or I don't dislike Lamb at all. The only reason I have him below the other players is I think his quarterback's not as good. Plain and simple. If you switched out, like, say, Lamb and Waddle or Lamb and AJB, I would switch them out on my list, right? Mm-hmm. Because he would be in a better offense with a better quarterback. Let's address this in chat real quick. So Austin Melios asks, for Dynasty, who is a better long-term option, A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith?
I think it's A.J. Brown. I think I really like Devonta Smith. I like him a lot, especially for his price. I think he should be up there with, where I have like Olave and Garrett Wilson. I think he should be up there with those guys. But he's not. You can get him a little bit cheaper. And I mean, he's a good 1B in that offense. AJ Brown is just AJ Brown. And, as long as he's number 1 in that offense and the offense is moving like it's moving, he's still only 25 years old. So it's not like he's an older, 27, 28-year-old player that we're having to, push down a little bit like you're, Stephon Diggs or whatever. He's still in that kind of age bracket where you're comfortable with him being a long-term asset.
Right. I agree. The only concern with A.J. Brown is will the knees hold up?
Yeah.
And that's really the only thing. So, I agree. And even at cost, I'm taking A.J. Brown just because I'm always striving to find elite players for my lineups. I'm really, when it's more of a philosophy kind of thing, but when other people are trying to tear down, I'm trying to see what I can do to tier up with as little as possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's really just going to depend on how you see their seasons going forward. I mean, there is a world where they both find the top 12 again this year, and if you're telling me that I have a top 12 wide receiver at what Devonta Smith's going for right now, then probably rather have Devonta Smith and put a little bit of that value somewhere else. Because I mean, AJ Brown's not scoring that many more points than Devonta Smith at the moment, so it's just a projection thing.
Yeah, good point. They're both wide receiver. They were both wide receivers 1s last year. I think Smith came in at 11. All right, so the next 5 I have.
Smith was 9 in PPR.
9. Okay, my bad.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next 5 I have are Lamb at 6, Olave at 7, Tyreek at 8, Amon-Ra St. Brown at 9, and DK at 10. So any issues with any of those guys there?
Say that one more time.
Lamb, Olave, Tyreek, Amon-Ra, and DK.
No, I mean, this next group is pretty bunched together for me. Yeah. The one that I'm probably not as high on as other people are is T. Higgins.
Okay, I don't have him in there. I didn't say his name.
I thought you did. My bad.
No, Lamb, Olave,
Tyreek. Right with you.
Yeah, Amon-Ra and DK. Okay, right on.
We have all the same guys. Yeah, we have all the same guys in there.
Okay, cool. And I feel like you can shuffle them around a little bit depending on who you like there, because they're all pretty similar as far as production goes. Olave's obviously got the youth. Tyreek's the only one in there you might worry about aging out. Like, obviously he said he's only going to play till 30 and then retire. Who knows if that's actually true? it's tough to turn down 20 or $25 million or whatever he could be making.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. I mean, I think all of these players speak for themselves. So I don't really want to go into detail on why they're there. Why don't we just move on to the next 5? So 11, I have Judy, then T. Higgins at 12, Slim Reaper at 13, Diggs 14. This is where we get into some of the older guys that are actually going to give you wide receiver 1 production, but only for the next year or 2, right? I have Diggs, Devontae Adams. That rounds out the top 15, but I also have Kupp at 16. Diggs, Adams at Kupp are pretty much a tier for me on their own. So just say that again: Judy, T. Higgins, Slim Reaper, Diggs, Devontae Adams, and Kupp. So I have Higgins at 12. Do you think that's too high?
No, I think that's about where I have him, right around that range.
Mm-hmm.
The one that I have significantly lower than you is Judy, and I think I'm pretty high on Judy. I love Judy.
I am very high on Judy.
But yeah, you're much higher than I am on him. I have him, down in the late teens. So
yeah, I see Judy as potentially Sean Payton and Russ. Russ's wide receiver 1. And
for sure.
If that happens, he has the potential to be a fantasy wide receiver 1.
Yeah, I just have a really, really, really tough time putting him ahead of, your Devonta Smiths and T. Higgins and guys like that who have. Well, I guess T. Higgins is one of those guys that I don't know. Like if you're telling me at cost which one I'd rather have, it's Judy, but it's just Judy. Judy with the injuries and the lack of consistency. He's going to at least have to show it once for me to put him up there, and
I can understand that. It's definitely a projection compared to the other 2. It's an aggressive ranking for sure.
Yeah.
The reason I have him above Higgins and Slim Reaper is really just the competition that he doesn't have. He's not competing with an alpha.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously the other 2 guys are competing with top 5 dynasty wide receivers, whereas Courtland Sutton, you know what I mean? He's certainly not an alpha, even though he could be good and productive in that offense. He's not going to command targets the way the other guys do. You know what? AJ Brown and Jamar Chase. That's the only reason.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I love Judy, and I hope he does end up in a situation where he's a top 12 wide receiver this season. That would be fantastic because I have a ton of shares. So yeah, I mean the others you can't really argue with. I mean it's maybe like 1 or 2 spots, guys shuffled around a little bit, but the general rankings I think are very similar with what I have. So
okay, cool. So you have that same tier of Diggs, Adams, Devontae Adams, and Kupp.
Yes, but the only one that I also kind of throw in and out of that group there is Drake London for me.
Okay, I have him 2 spots lower. So after Kupp, it goes Ayuk, Drake London, JSN, and then Debo and Jama for me.
Oh yeah, I have Ayuk way lower.
Really?
Yeah.
Wide receiver 15 last year. I understand it's the first year that he's been a wide receiver 2, but it feels like he's ascending in that offense.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one of those things. Like the context is there too. Debo only played 13 games. Kittle was out for most of the season. I mean.
But don't we expect that to happen again?
No, I mean, and then the quarterbacks, or not most of the season, but he missed some games, and he was, not as productive as he usually is. What I mean, I didn't mean injured, but yeah, I mean, I expect Debo to have a less of a role where he's, running the ball and maybe that keeps him healthy a little bit. I don't know. I mean, I just don't think he's that good. So it's just tough for me.
I do. I think he's a very, very good separator. Really just sort of like a small tier below this kind of Olave, Wilson, Devontae Smith, Judy type of player. Like not quite as elite at separating as those guys, but in the same sort of neighborhood.
Yeah, I'm just when I'm looking at a receiver and an offense and they don't have the quarterback stability, which you've mentioned several times, but with him, I think it's a little different for me because you can't lean on, the amount of targets or the amount of receptions or the productivity in the offense. You're leaning on touchdowns and you have the quarterback situation. So, and with other players being either, out of commission or not up to their usual standard. So I don't know. He's quite a bit tougher for me than some other players that I would probably put above him. I think for me, he's almost in the 30s. I think he's maybe late 20s.
Okay. All right. Well, you've spoke to me a little bit. I'm definitely going to move him down. I think you've convinced me. It's especially with the quarterback situation. That is real sketchy now that I think about it. I think I didn't consider that quite enough. I'm not a Purdy believer, first of all. It's such a small sample size. And Lance, who the hell knows? He could be awful. The only time we've ever seen him on the NFL field, he was awful. So there's a really good chance that continues. I don't know. The Niners don't seem to have a lot of confidence in him. So
yeah, I really want to like Ayuk. I really do, but it's just the whole situation just seems so
All right, for now, I am going to move him below. I'm going to move him down to 22 below Christian Kirk. And I might move him lower. We'll see. All right, so London, you said you already have. All right, so that puts London at 17, right below Cup. So I guess we're in lockstep. Are you there with JSN, Debo, and JMO?
I have JSN a little bit lower.
Okay.
Yeah, Jameson Williams I have around there. Did you already say Devonta Adams?
Yes, he's up with Diggs and Cup.
Okay, yeah, I have him in that area too. And then the one that I kind of throw in there that I think a lot of people probably don't is Christian Watson.
Really?
Yep.
I have him 35.
Yeah, I think you're probably lower than consensus, and I'm probably higher than consensus.
Yeah, probably. I just I'm very leery of him. We talked about him last week a little bit. Like I've been saying this a lot. Or maybe I should stop saying it so much. But I'm just worried that last year was a Claypool year. A Chase Claypool. Yeah. I could be 100% wrong. There are no straight lines that you can draw between players, but he just concerns me. I do want to talk about JMO a little bit. Mm-hmm. His value has been dipping lately. I think people are just sort of fed up with him not being on the field. Has it dipped for you at all, or is it? Or I mean, obviously he's still the same player he was at Alabama.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's just about if you're rebuilding and you're getting rid of Jameson Williams because he hasn't played yet, right?
Mm.
What are you doing? Like you drafted him because you like the player, or you acquired him because you like the player, and you're not trying to compete, so it doesn't matter.
Sure.
Like he's an elite player with elite draft capital, in a high volume passing offense, or what should be a high volume passing offense.
Absolutely. It gets a little stickier though when you are competing. So what do you do with
that? When you are competing, yes, then that's when you should be, maybe trying to move him for, a prospect that's going to see the field sooner. Yeah. But even in that case, if you're comfortable with your roster and you're saying, okay, I can compete without this guy, and maybe by the time playoffs runs around is when I have the chance to slot him in, because he should be, I guess rolling by then. I think that's fine too. I just don't think you need to, make any rash decisions based off of a, betting suspension, which, I mean, there's been Athletic, the Athletic publication, they released an article talking about, interviewing random players about the betting policy, and almost nobody that they spoke to knew about this policy. where you couldn't gamble on other stuff in the facility because you
Yeah,
can do it away from the facility. Like it's a very weird kind of thing. But they were like, yeah, I mean, they go over this stuff, but they go over it on top of like a million other things, and it's very quick, and it all blends together at the end of the day.
Yeah, it seemed like they were genuinely surprised and didn't know that they were right.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think it's like a behavior thing, which that's a check for me. Like as far as I don't think he has like a habitual problem or anything like that, or it doesn't seem like it at the moment. And he was just hurt, and we knew that coming in as a rookie. So it is what it is. If you can acquire him cheap, then that's where I'm at.
And this is where I was with Tua a couple years ago. He was the same guy. Just because he hadn't played didn't make him any different, right? It took Tua a while to get on the field, but once he did, and once they gave him the weapons, he took to that system and he took to the NFL great, perfectly.
I mean, look at a guy like Lamb, right, who struggled for a long time compared to expectation.
Yeah.
Right, and people were at one point trading him for a value of like wide receiver 14, 13, 14. Now he's, I think, consensus probably wide receiver 3. So I mean, some guys, when you just know that they're talented players, just give them the benefit of the doubt and wait on them a little bit.
Yeah. So perfect example. We're in the league together, DWZ Patreon 2, where I am competing. I just finished my rebuild, basically. I mean, I still have some building to do, but my roster's ready to rock. And like I had JMO as he was my 4th wide receiver, but I was kind of counting on him to contribute at least early on. And I'm worried if AJ Brown or Garrett Wilson or Olave get hurt, I'm going to need a guy. Didn't have a lot of depth. So you're rebuilding in that league. You just took over an orphan and are tearing it down and building it back up. Mm-hmm. So we traded, I think it was I gave you JMO and Chig, and you gave me Judy and Njoku. Right. Yeah. So I feel like that was a perfect trade that helps you, right? You're tanking. So JMO's not going to be on the field for you. It helps you get.
I'm not tanking.
Not tanking. Sorry.
I'm strategically losing.
Right. Taking a step back. But it helps you not score points. It also helps you, get a player that you see as elite talent, right?
Yeah.
So do I, by the way. I actually think JMO probably will have a better career when all is said and done than Judy, but it helps me because I need points. I can't be waiting 6 games to get one of my what is supposed to be one of my star players. And same with Chig and Njoku. I don't know that Chig is ever going to turn into anything. I've already seen Njoku be elite, at least for a stretch, with Deshaun Watson last year. And he's a backup. He's my 3rd tight end, so it's not like I have to count on him. I just thought it worked really well for both of us. I would suggest, by the way, I don't really believe in Chig all that much, but his value to me is inflated right now. We'll get to that when we get to tight ends. But my suggestion to you would be to trade him while his value is high.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I mean, tight ends aren't, it's hard to bank on them working out. So that's my game plan as well.
Yeah. Right on. Not to blow you up if anybody in that league's listening.
Yeah, no.
All right. So after that, I've got Christian Kirk, Hollywood, Deontay Johnson, Amari Cooper, Calvin Ridley. And this is where it gets real jumbled for me. Wow. Any of the next 10 or 15 players could be interchangeable.
Yeah, I have several players above them at the moment.
Okay, give me your next one.
So it's hard because we're not in quite the same order, but I have Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Okay.
Then I have Addison, then Pittman, then Burks, then DJ Moore, then Debo.
Okay. DJ Moore is the highest I had. Well, Debo, obviously, I've already said it. 19,
Yeah.
but I think I'm going to move him down as well. It's the same reason I moved IF down. I have DJ Moore probably highest. Yeah, definitely highest out of all those guys at 28. Pittman I have down at 33 because I don't like the fit with the quarterback at all.
Mm-hmm.
Unless Gardner Minshew is going to play for a while. I think he's probably, it's weird to say, but he's probably better for Pittman's game, at least in the beginning, than Anthony Richardson. But I need to see that before I believe in it. Addison, I love Addison, but I really loved Pickens and Dotson and Christian Watson. I have all above him. I like those guys as prospects as well, and I haven't seen anything out of Addison, so I can't put him above those guys personally because I didn't really think he was that much of a better prospect. Did you?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, yeah. At one point, you had him as your wide receiver 1 in this class. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. My top 2 were Addison and Flowers. So, yeah, that tells you anything.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
But I completely forgot about Dotson. I would also throw him in there too for me. I'm really, really, really high on Dotson. I think I'd rather have Christian Watson just because I believe in the quarterback situation a little bit more. Mm-hmm. But I really, really like Dotson as a player. As if in a vacuum, I like Dotson better than Watson. I'm really, really high on Dotson. I think he's a really good player.
So it sounds like you're really penalizing veterans and really, really emphasizing youth. So like you're not really putting much value in, if healthy, guaranteed points out of people like Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Godwin.
No, I'm all of those guys. Like mm-hmm. You can just get them so cheap. So
okay,
it's not. There's no need to push them up, right? Like they can just be had for almost nothing.
Gotcha.
Keenan Allen, you can get him for a second.
Yeah, that's true. That's a steal.
Mike Williams, the same thing. Like during the draft, I'm sure if you offered, a bunch of people at 205, 206, they're taking the 205, 206 over Mike Williams, which is crazy to say, but
it's true.
It's what it is.
Yeah. All right. So, what about Calvin Ridley? What do you expect out of him this year?
Calvin Ridley, yeah. So he's tough for me. He's like almost an admission because I really, really like him. And I think he's going to be really good. But man, is it hard for me to buy him? And I think it's because I have him everywhere. So it's like, I acquired him for basically nothing when everybody was just trading him for thirds and, pennies, right? So it was getting him for next to nothing, holding him, and now I have him in all these leagues, and I just feel no need to acquire him. So I haven't really thought about it much, but I have really high expectations for him.
Right on. Yeah, I have kind of same. I actually had quite a few shares before he went down or went out, and then acquired more. Got to the point where like I was saturated with him, so I traded one or two.
Yeah,
but for good value. One was for Jordan Love this offseason. I thought that was.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. Yeah.
All right, so actually, I think I want to cut off wide receivers here, and maybe we'll pick it up again next week because I do want to get the tight ends this week.
Yeah, let's do it.
Just completely omit them. All right, so there really is no consensus at the top of tight end. I've heard a lot of people say that you're crazy if you have Pitts there. You should have Kelsey at 1.
I have Andrews at 1.
Okay, I've had other people. Memphis says that Mandrews is absolutely the tight end 1. If you have anybody else, you're doing it wrong. I personally still believe in Pitts. I still think that he's as elite as he was when he was drafted. The fact that he took a sophomore step back doesn't concern me at all, especially with the quarterback play that he's had. The fact that he got 1,000 yards out of Matt Ryan in his rookie year, nuts. That's bananas to me.
Yeah.
So I can't move him down. He's still the only truly elite young asset at tight end, in my opinion. Do you have him at 2?
Yes, I have him at 2, and then Kelsey at 3.
I have Kelsey at 2.
This is like where rankings don't really matter, right? Like,
right.
I mean, it's all based on very specific scenarios. Like, is there a scenario where I have Kelsey 1? Of course. Is there a scenario where I have Pitts 1? Of course. You know, is there a scenario where I'm just like, okay, I have Andrews and I'm just, you know, somebody offered me Kelsey. Even if I'm competing, I'm like, no, I'm all right. Yeah. You know, like they're just so different at where they are in each one of their careers that there's a specific scenario where, yeah, they're probably the number 1 tight end for you.
I have Mandrews 3rd. Yes, absolutely. I understand that. Really, that should be a caveat with all of our rankings is the way I do it. Like everybody does rankings differently. The way I do it is, would I rather have this player or the player below him? You know, and I go down the list that way. Who would I rather have?
Yeah.
You know, but like you said, every team is different. I think if you offered me Pitts for Kelsey, I'd do it in almost every team. Even if I was a heavy contender, I still think I'd do it just for the overall long-term health of my team.
I think that you think you would. I'm in a very, 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 very high buy-in league, and I have Kelsey on my roster, and there's literally not one player that I would trade Kelsey for at the moment. Because
other than a quarterback.
No, not one player that I would trade Kelsey for at the moment, because it's a 0.75 premium tight end league, and like Kelsey, if you have a decent quarterback situation, Kelsey is a 3rd quarterback. You know, he's a 3rd super flex spot basically, almost guaranteed, and it's been that way for 6 years in a row. So I mean, it's like it's a lot of money on the line. So, I mean, if you're in a league where, there's a lot on the line, maybe it's different in a, $50 buy-in league or $100 buy-in league where you're like, I can eat that cost and rebuild for a couple of years, but I don't want to rebuild in a super high buy-in league,
Yeah.
I want to win and have that pay for my future years. So,
sure.
It's hard. What Kelsey has managed to do at the tight end position is absolutely insane, and it's impossible to let that go if you think you have a shot at winning a lot of money this year. It's been longer than 6 years, hasn't it? It's been tight end 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1.
Wow. How many was that? 7, 8?
Yeah, it's nuts. 6, 7, 8. Yeah,
so
8 years.
So with Mandrews, I knock him down a little bit because just without Lamar in there last year, it was ugly. Even with Lamar in there last year, it wasn't quite what we had seen, right? I'm worried that he was maybe a little dependent on the scheme. They brought in other weapons. There's a new offensive coordinator. We don't know that Lamar is going to be in there for 17 games. There's just a little bit of that uncertainty for me that bumps him down just to 3. Not very far. I'm not getting hot takey on it, but just a little, right? And then after that, I have Hawk 4, Kittle 5, and then this is a no-brainer to me, but seems to be controversial. Goddard at 6, and then to your break.
So you think Todd Monken is a negative for Andrews?
I don't think he's a negative for Andrews. I just think it's something we haven't seen yet, and we don't know that he's going to command the same target share.
I inflate Andrews' price because of Monken. I think it's going to be a much, much higher passing volume offense.
I think that Monken will do whatever his weapons dictate. That seems to be his MO. And Mandrews probably is the best weapon in that offense outside. Maybe not with Odell. We'll see what Odell has left.
Andrews is a better player than Odell any day of the week.
Wow. Yeah. That's all right. So You have Hawk next, or
I mean, one is a top 3 player at his position, and one hasn't played for
I hear you, but when you're talking about raw talent, if they're
years.
both healthy and on the field, who commands more targets?
Andrews.
If Odell is at the top of his game, he was the nastiest.
But Odell hasn't been at the top of his game.
I hear.
I mean, that's like saying Arnold Schwarzenegger is the best bodybuilder in the world. Like, yeah, that was the case. Like,
is it really?
25 years ago, 30 years ago. You
heard it here, folks. Odell Beckham is the Arnold Schwarzenegger of wide receivers.
I'm just saying, like, I'm a big Odell fan. I'm a
Giants
fan. I love Odell Beckham, but I mean, come on, like, what are we doing? I mean,
okay, all right.
He's a name.
Hawk or Kittle?
Even for me.
Okay.
If I'm trying to get younger, then I would take Hawk. But
I have a really hard time rostering Kittle at all because of his price, what you can get for him, and the return that you get. Right? I have zero confidence that guy's going to be healthy when I need him in the playoffs. Right? So I just can't, on a team that is trying to compete, if he's my number one tight end, man, I can't resign I have to resign myself to, I probably won't have him and I better have a really good backup. Right? So to me, it's just really hard for me to roster Kittle. And then if I'm rebuilding, then what the fuck do I want that old asshole on my team for? Excuse the language.
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. I hear you.
So Goddard next, or do you have someone else?
I have Goddard at 4.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. Finally, somebody speaking my language. The only reason I don't have Goddard up there is because he just hasn't put up that season yet. It's still a projection. So, I mean, if he stays healthy, big if, for 17 games. If he commands targets, big if in that offense, he should be a top 5 tight end.
Yeah.
But because we haven't seen it, either one of those happen, bump him down a little bit. Although he was on an elite pace before he got hurt last year.
Well, and the only reason that, I mean, you look at his last 2 years, right? And the only thing he's really missing is one, staying healthy for a full season, which he hasn't been able to do.
Right.
And that's probably the last 3 years or something. But really, it's the touchdowns, right? Like, he just needs more touchdowns. If he scores more touchdowns, he will be a top 3-4 tight end.
It's a very small sample size as well without Ertz. It's only been about a year and a half.
Yep. But he's never been a player that scored a lot of touchdowns, and that's always held him back.
Sure.
So even like this past year and the year before, where the rest of his targets look good, his
catches, ADOT, yardage.
Yeah. All of his advanced metrics look great, and it's just he's not been able to get in the end zone, and you would like to think that maybe that that comes, but
feels fluky to me, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing; it's got to happen eventually, right? Like, he's got to get some eventually.
All right, so after that, after Goddard, I have Ingram 7. I know that's a little aggressive, but I think he's a really good fit in that offense. Pat Freiermuth after that, Dulcich 9, and rounding out the top 10, I have Njoku.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm aggressive on him. He's just showed, like I said, had an elite stretch with Watson. I guess we can't count on him to be healthy, but I love him as – I mean, I have him ranked as a tight end 1, but I really love him as my backup tight end.
Yeah, no, I have no issue with that. The only one that I'm it's actually an omission that is striking me a little bit, and that's Dalton Kincaid. I have Dalton Kincaid as tight end 7.
I have him next at 11.
Okay.
I could see
I have
7.
just behind Hawkinson ahead of Freiermuth for me.
I could see 7. Absolutely. I have a hard time doing that without seeing it. I mean, I still have him ranked as a tight end 1 without seeing it. But, with the draft capital and the apparent lack of target competition and elite quarterback, elite offense, yeah, absolutely, I can see it.
And him basically being a wide receiver. I mean, he's a wide receiver. I mean, it's no different than if you went and, found a first-round wide receiver and stuck a tight end designation on him. Like, he's a wide receiver. He's not.
It's a bit of a cheat. Yeah,
Yeah.
they've already come out and stated it.
He's basically Pitts, right? Like, I mean, not as talented as Pitts, but it's the same kind of thing. He's a wide receiver. He's just playing tight end. Yeah.
Right on. All right. Well, unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut this off because I have an engagement. I have a hard stop at, well, it's noon for us on podcast. It's whatever time you're listening to us. Pick this up next week, kind of go into these, our next kind of, I guess, 25 through whatever on wide receiver and 10 through 20 on tight end. Do you want to do that?
Yep. Let me just throw in one tight end that I have in my top 10 that you don't.
Absolutely.
Darren Waller.
Okay. I can see that. Obviously, I have questions about whether he can stay healthy or not. But if he can, he should command targets in that offense.
But if you can get a guy at like bottom tight end, 10 prices where like you can get him as the tight end 10, 11, 12 in value, like he's one of the only guys capable of, if he stays healthy, giving you a tight end 1 season.
Agreed. All right. So I think this is a good episode. We kind of gave our opening ideas on our rankings, and then next week we're really going to dig in deep.
All right.
Right on. All right. Thanks for joining us, guys. We are Dynasty War Games, part of the Dynasty Warzone Network. We really appreciate you listening to us. Dynasty Warzone is part of the Player Profile Network. Again, thanks for tuning in. We'll be coming to you on Sundays live, and then whenever Memphis puts it out on podcast. But look for us, like and subscribe. You subscribe to DWZ, you'll get our podcast on their feed every week. Thanks for joining us, and we are out.
Later.